Ride a motorcycle with me.
Alright, so this August I decided to check off a bucket list goal, which was to ride across the country on my motorcycle. The first 2 days, though, was really the goal was to get out of the southeast. And so the first day I rode all the way to Nashville after dropping my kid off at school. And then the second day I went from Nashville to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The first major destination I wanted to see was the Badlands. The Badlands in South Dakota I had been to when I was a teenager, but I think that there's definitely a different appreciation in your adulthood for some of these areas and national and state parks. So I kind of wanted to make sure that that was one of the ones that I hit on this trip. It was absolutely breathtaking. After wandering through the Badlands, I did make it to Sturgis that third night. My intention was to get more of the full Sturgis experience, and I did decide to camp at the Buffalo Chip, which, if you know me, that is very out of my character, but I'm glad I did. It was an experience. Just, one more thing to check off the list. It was wild. I did not sleep, but I was also behind like 2 hours. However, in my typical fashion, I was up before the sun and made sure that I got myself out and riding so I could see some of the other really cool sights in that South Dakota area. Of course, I had to hit Needles Highway and most of Custer State Park, including the wildlife loop. The funny thing about the wildlife loop, this was the first time I had rode it on a motorcycle, and kind of thankful I actually did not run into any bison. That's just not the type of experience I think I was looking forward to. I do enjoy critters of all different shapes, sizes, whatever, but solo riding through somewhere like this on 2 wheels, it really wasn't top of the bucket list to meet one up close. This tunnel was so cool, I just switched my video, did a little bit better, so you could have seen Mount Rushmore through it on the other side. But I highly recommend seeking that tunnel out. So after my one crazy night at Buffalo Chip, I did decide to stay in Lead, which was a much better place for me. That's typically a much more quiet and reserved person. Cute little town, and I'm really glad that I took the opportunity to stay there twice. It also left me finally well enough rested to check out Spearfish Canyon the following day, which honestly turned into one of my favorite areas in South Dakota. I really think that it was very quiet and beautiful, and I can't wait to go back there. And in normal fashion, I'm seeking out the waterfalls when I can. But this turned out to be a great ride out to Devil's Tower in Wyoming and actually get to see the prairie dogs. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to hike Devil's Tower due to some kind of medical emergency that was happening there, so it was a quick visit. And making my way back to Deadwood, such a cool little old mining town that's turned into just a fun experience. So after leaving South Dakota, the intention was to go up through Montana and then make my way down through to Yellowstone. The intention was to go through Red Lodge. Now, Red Lodge did have quite a bit of damage from some flooding over the summer, but some miracle allowed me to be able to actually ride through some of this area, which was totally worth it because, wow, Beartooth Highway might be the coolest thing ever. As somebody that lives at 82 feet above sea level, seeing 11,000 feet above sea level was just mind-boggling. I also felt a little too Florida naive when I thought there was patches of sand on the side of the road. Come to find out, it is not sand, but snow. Old snow. But as you can see, Beartooth was definitely a highlight. I've never seen such amazing rock formations. The Blue Ridge Mountains I've spent plenty of time in, but it doesn't compare to what this area has. It also, after leaving Beartooth, ended up being one of my favorite little lakes, I guess, stopping off of. I mean, the amount of times that I just feel like I stop off and be like, where the hell am I? This area just didn't look real to me. It looked like kind of like springtime, I guess. Flowers, just the colors. It was beautiful. Absolutely one of my favorite stops. I wish I had more time to just actually take in the day here.
It's not real. I refuse to believe this is real.
And then to experience the road construction. Now, knowing that obviously they had lots to fix because of the flooding, it was an experience to just, eat lunch on the side of the road. But I made my way to Yellowstone, and I took the east entrance because the north entrance was still closed. So this added about 2 hours to my day, but it was completely worth it since, anytime riding and it's nice out, I really don't think I care how many miles it is extra. So actually, prior to this trip, I actually didn't like the state of Wyoming. It was my least favorite state that I had traveled through, as a teen. But it was a completely different experience this time around. I do believe that Yellowstone was a lot busier than I would have loved it, but then I made it to Tetons. And Tetons at sunset redeemed all of the area for me. I really wish I could have camped here as well. But I had a campsite a little bit further outside of Tetons. At least I was able to see it at such a beautiful peak time that, I don't know, this will be etched into my memory forever. So I kind of replanned my day. I did get up a little extra early because I wanted to go back to Tetons and do a little hiking. I knew Lake Jenny there had some hidden falls that I really wanted to see. And as I said, unfortunately, this biking and a little hiking thing is definitely my jam. And so I did make my way back to Tetons before heading out through Lake Idaho to do a little of this hiking. But it was worth it. Completely worth it. So my hike did kind of add about 2 hours to my day, since I'm really not like a super fast hiker because there's always so much to see. And there's no cruise control on hiking. I just stop a lot more than I probably should. And this put me a little bit later than I wanted to, going through Idaho and then onto Nevada. I actually just had a random stop in Nevada to stay that night, so at least I wasn't trying to make it to anything else, and the hike was completely worth it. After Nevada, though, getting into California, it definitely got a little weird. I was not prepared for how smoky the forest fires in California were going to be, which actually kind of deterred my day a little bit. I was able to at least get through to the redwoods like my intention was, but the smoke was killing my eyes, and I wasn't able to make it to the Avenue of the Giants, which now is on, the to-do list still. I did get to see the Pacific Ocean for the first time there in Crescent City, which is where I camped that first night on the Pacific coast. Absolutely beautiful, but I was not prepared for the mistiness, I guess. Florida's not like that. Florida is definitely, we have our foggy days, but mist. I actually had to put on rain gear in the morning. Due to the weather, I did have to choose between the very misty and cold Oregon coast or going to see Crater Lake. I did decide Crater Lake was the better option for the time that I was there, and it did not disappoint. After leaving Crater Lake area, though, my phone service seemed to be no longer useful, and I had to wander my way through the state of Oregon without any GPS or cell service to find my stop for the night in Astoria. The following morning, I was able to follow the last little bit of the Oregon coast before making my way to Washington State, which was the furthest away from my home state of Florida that I was going to see on this whole cross-country trip. At one point, I was able to pull up a map, seeing my son 3,200 miles away from me. This was the farthest I had been from home, actually, my entire life, and I was able to ride here on 2 wheels, and to meet all these amazing women. The Dream Roll was a wild and liberating 2-night campout for the women's community in Washington. It was around Olympic National Park, and I took the opportunity, since I had already rode 5,000 miles to get here, to do some basic maintenance on my bike. They also had the Royal Enfield test crew there and was able to take out a Himalayan for a little bit. And Saturday, I went the whole loop around the Olympic National Forest, checking out the Pacific Coast for one last time before I started to make my way back home the following day.
Let's go. Let's go.
We have breakfast.